Hi, I'm Scott Wrighton. I serve as Decatur City Manager, and it's our pleasure as a city government to update you, the citizens of the city of Decatur that we're accountable to, for the different programs and new information that comes from your city government. For a lot of the wrong reasons, city governments have been in the news lately. Certainly the tragedy in Uvalde, Texas is one that comes immediately to mind. But there have been other incidents of violence around the country, Charleston, South Carolina, several other communities as well, where these tragedies seem to be repeating themselves. And while that sort of an incident hasn't touched Decatur, certainly leadership here in the community talks about what we can do to make sure that that doesn't happen, or that we're taking the kind of preventive steps that is necessary to not let that kind of an incident happen. Of course, there are no guarantees, but there's a lot of proactive things that can happen. Sadly, the national media tends to focus just on police process, or focus just on gun control, or focus just on mental health or something like that, when oftentimes it really is an integrated approach to making sure that the community is healthier and that certain safeguards are in place as a result of that healthiness, that wellness, that revitalization of the community. The city of Decatur has had a good working relationship with its school districts for many, many years. The school district here has never asked for defunding of police. The school district here has never asked that school resource officers that have a daily presence in our schools be taken out. In fact, they've been very supportive of the school resource officer program. Our police department has worked closely with DPS 61 as well to consult on ways that those school buildings can be hardened, that access can be limited in a way that at least discourages some of these sorts of tragedies. Another key element, though, I think to consider is that all of these issues need to be thought of holistically as a part of the fabric of our neighborhood revitalization program. I sort of see it as a three-pronged thing, that we need to be engaged in our revitalization of the community, as well as how that affects young people in schools and other civic institutions in the neighborhoods, by doing both prevention of violence and aberrant behavior, intervention to make sure that those things don't happen again. And third, suppression. There needs to be a strong police presence in certain areas, and people who wield and use firearms need to be held accountable in the justice system, and if necessary, locked up. But all three of these things need to happen together in an integrated and holistic way. And although we certainly have more work to do in some of our distressed neighborhoods here in Decatur, I want you to know that the partnerships between the school district as well as with other bodies are well on the way, I think, to establishing that and making that fabric tighter. One of the other projects I want to tell you a little bit about, one that I've mentioned at least once before, has to do with what we're calling the beautification of North 22nd Street. By that I mean the area on 22nd Street north of the Garfield overpass all the way up almost to Pershing. For longtime Decatur residents, you know that's where Firestone used to be, on the east side of 22nd Street. And those of you who might be driving down 22nd Street a lot lately know that the owner of that property has moved much faster lately to demolish that old office building that sat for many, many years there as kind of a testament to what happens when an industry leaves an old empty hulk of a building. They've been tearing that down. At the same time, we've been working with Beautify Decatur and the Illinois Department of Transportation to do a beautification project there that still has a long ways to go. The fence came down several months ago, and later this summer there'll be new trees planted in there, some sculpture and artwork actually put on the right-of-way. We're working with Ameren as well to put some decorative banners on some of the street lights. Some of the scrub trees will be removed. The old, largely deteriorated equipment at the old JFL field is going to be removed. And so in general, that area will look much better. Now, it's important to do that anyway on a corridor like 22nd Street that needs that kind of a facelift. But we see it as also being directly involved in marketing that property, the old Firestone property, for additional economic development uses. The city of Decatur and the local economic development corporation get a lot of inquiries for warehouses, for manufacturing space, for light assembly. Some of them we have landed, and you've seen those announcements. Some of them we miss, but oftentimes the ability to move quickly on a site to have something that is ready to build on is key. And so by working closely with that new owner of that site, the city and the EDC, hope to be able to move that along faster and make it something that turns out to be a valuable addition to the community from an economic development side, and certainly beautifying the property will do that in any event. A couple of other programs that I mentioned that I think bear repeating. One of them is the tree program that was recently approved by the mayor and city council. For a couple of years, we've been trying to see if we can get more trees in the public right-of-ways, but it's really been frustrating because the reality is that in the modern age, there are so many utilities that are already there and new ones coming on, a lot more broadband that is being buried in between the broadband and the water lines and the sewer lines and the gas lines and the overhead power lines, and place for the street and the water, sewer, and storm sewer. Oftentimes our existing right-of-way is crowded and there's really no room for a tree, and if we do plant a tree, it's going to be in the way of those utilities in the future, or it might cause sidewalks to heave, creating safety problems. But we all know and all experience how trees can really add ambiance and value to the streetscape. So the program basically says, how about if you put it in your front yard, on your side of the property line, on your private property? Because even though it's on your private property in your front yard, that still adds enhancement not only to your property, but to the overall appearance of the streetscape as one is driving, walking, or cycling down the street. And to make that possible, the city's program says that if you'll go out and buy a tree, plant the tree in your yard, we'll have to come take a look at it to make sure that it meets all of the program requirements, and you water it, we'll pay you back 80% of that cost, up to $400 per tree. So that adds value to your property, and it also adds value to the overall streetscape. And it does something else that we track in terms of our performance outcomes, and that is the overall tree canopy of the city. Now whether the tree is on city property or park district property or on private property or somebody else's property, it adds to the tree canopy. And that's what adds environmental health, allows the city to breathe more, is if we've added to the canopy. So we're adding to the canopy whosever property those trees are planted on. So if you have an interest in that tree program, please call our Public Works Department. They're the office that's handling that. I also want to encourage you to visit our website and the Community Development Department and see if one of our rehab programs, either one for landlords who can get a low interest loan to rehab properties that they have that they're using as rentals, or if it's owner occupied, it's actually a loan to grant program to help you with rehab. We've had hundreds of people already interested in this program and start to fill in the applications. That's really encouraging. It shows us that there's a lot of property owners that want to partner with the city to engage in these rehab programs and join with us in rehabilitating our neighborhoods. So thank you for the feedback that you give us in this and other ways. I look forward to talking to you again next week.